Oh, I'm on.
Hey,
Hey.
Todd. You did it.
Hey, man. Can you
Yeah, I
hear us?
can hear you fine.
Great.
Sweet. I'm going to turn you down a little bit because we have headphones in, and you're probably one of the, more, I can hear you the best out of the last few sessions that we've done.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, good.
So that's
No technical issues.
good. No, are you in the print
Yeah,
shop?
I'm in the shop.
This is exciting. Okay. So, yeah, we took last week off, which was like a really nice time to just kind of check in and answer some questions to ourselves. I'm sure that you probably had the same, and I mean, that's kind of still going on here, but we wanted to get back onto this because it's been a really nice way to share work. And yeah, I feel like this whole everything that's happened since March, I've realized how much more valuable the residency is for my mental well-being than I think I even realized before, because anytime anything sort of political or social or climate, anything happens, we usually have people in our house from all over the world that you can have a really interesting conversation with, and it's been strange not having that and this feeling there isn't that constant buzz of ideas and conversation in real life. I'm getting it online, but it's different.
Yeah.
It's different when you can sit around the kitchen table and eat and talk about things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you're finding, because you're in a city. We're in a small town. It's easy to just sort of stay in your house surrounded by fields and literally not see people ever. I went to the grocery store for the first time since March last Sunday. And that's the most people I've seen.
Yeah. I mean, people are doing a pretty good job of distancing here. It's hard not, being able to see your friends and, but I mean, I feel like we're all making adjustments, figuring out ways to do it remotely. And I mean, especially with this programming, I think you guys are, doing a great job of, kind of keeping the community going and figuring out ways to reach out to people. And I'm super stoked to be able to, to join in and talk about some work.
We're excited too. So do you want to introduce yourself, say where you are, and maybe give us a little bit, or I mean, not us, but anybody that doesn't know who we're talking to?
Yeah, well, okay. So my name is Todd Irwin. I'm a printmaker. Yeah, I don't know. I'm in Chicago.
You're in Chicago.
I have a studio here that I share with my buddies, Son and Zimmer, Nick and Nadine. They're working hard, and they probably don't know that they're on camera. But we got this shared studio space. A couple of automatic presses, computers.
Oh, nice.
Apparel printing
it's
station.
Really quite big.
Yeah, it's a good sized space. It's also in a building that's shared with other printmakers, Pop Ink. Here's some, very proficient edition printers are here. Kyle Baker's across the hall. He's got a real big commercial print space, as well as Dan Jetsa, who's longtime Chicago illustrator and printmaker that's well represented here in the city. So it's the building we're in is and it's full of musicians. Some different ensembles are housed here. So I'm kind of part of a good community building here. So
Are people in working quite a bit?
I mean, it definitely has dropped off. It's not as busy as it has been, but it's kind of been picking up recently, as Chicago started to kind of phase in businesses opening and stuff like that. You're starting.
Yeah. Where are you guys at with the rephasing system?
I don't really pay attention because I'm still not totally comfortable with going to a restaurant or going to a bar or whatever, even though I really want to.
Yeah.
But I think that restaurants had just opened, I think, earlier this week or maybe last week. So you're starting to see more and more people kind of out on the sidewalks, walking around, going places. Probably with less face masks than before. So I don't know if that's a bad thing or not. It seems like people want to kind of normalize.
Right.
So, but I think kind of as individuals, people are kind of making their own assessment on like what level they want to do that. So.
Yeah, that feels pretty similar to like here. This week, Ontario just announced that like everywhere but like the Greater Toronto region and a couple other places can like go to phase 2, which is I think like childcare is opening up this weekend and like restaurants and hairdressers.
I think it's just patios for restaurants.
Patios,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So like they're slowly starting to open up some things, which is like cool, but it is like there's no vaccine.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly. And it's every
Yeah,
indication
so
that it's we're gonna have a backlash because of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we're still hanging tight in here, but so we're trying to do this thing where we don't just show prints.
Okay.
So so we have 2 prints and 1 non-print. But you can obviously still just show prints. We're realizing, we were just talking before we got on with you, that like if we want to keep doing this, like we have like a pretty good collection of art, but like we don't have like a forever collection of art.
Yeah.
So like we're like realizing we're gonna start like actually being like, oh, we don't have any artwork to show anymore.
Here's my student work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the prints start getting a little like, yeah.
Like here's another thing from second year. Last year I focused on third year art, but now we're gonna. But yeah, so basically we have 3 pieces, and we're hoping you have 3 pieces.
If you have more than that, or like partners, this is a very loose
Yeah, I was
system.
wondering if I could bend the rules a little bit.
You
Of course.
totally can.
It's
bend the
I
rules.
was kind of upset going through my flat file because I'm like, that's really hard to just pick 3 prints to talk about, you know. There's so much work shoved in there from over the years that, you know, it's like, it was kind of like going through a time capsule. I'm like, oh man, I forgot about this one, you know.
You know, there's some hidden gems in our flat files that like I'm like, oh yeah, I should frame that.
It's been a really fun experience, like going back in and revisiting what we have. And I feel like as printmakers, we do end up with these big collections because we trade so much. And then paper goods, they're just difficult to frame. And also there's, you know, there is limited wall space in any home. So, you know, you do end up with these like beautiful stacks of gorgeous things that are weird sizes that you can't just like find a simple solution for. Or, I mean, so one of the pieces we're going to show you today is like something that, I mean, I guess could be framed, but it feels so amazing not being in a frame. You'll see when we show you that you're like, I don't know how to display this. But yeah, so we have 3 things. You have
I have
some
3.
things.
I have 3 that I settled on, but if we can expand, I'm totally into expanding.
We can totally expand. So do you want to start with yours, or do you want us?
I mean, I can start.
What's
I need a sip of coffee. Hold on.
All right. Do it.
All right.
So what do you got for us? I'm so excited by
It's
it.
so quiet in your space with people working in. I just kind of can't believe
Well,
this.
nobody's printing today. Just clicking on keyboards. All right.
Just
So
keyboard.
speaking of pieces that you want to frame but just haven't gotten around to it, this is like the ultimate one of those. And my wife Maggie and I are in constant discussion about how to frame it, but it's like we haven't come to a consensus. So this is a print by Jeff Dell,
Oh,
which if
what is it printed on?
it's printed on I think it's called Yupo, or
Oh,
it's
yeah,
yes.
it's like kind of like a vellum. I think it's like a synthetic paper, and I think the selling point was it you know, it doesn't warp or stuff like that. But it's a screen print. and it's actually printed, it's double-sided. So I don't know if you can see kind of like there's like a pink kind of halo around the edge. I mean, my lighting in here is not great.
No,
Yeah,
I can see,
but he's got the backside.
Oh, that is
Yeah.
lovely. I also like, so there's the striping that's kind of looks like it's in behind the two forward. Is it like kind of looks like it's reading like a piece of cake to me? But I don't know if that's just wrong.
I think it's cake. The title of
but-
the piece is called Tandem.
Okay, so not really related to cake.
No, but as a food enthusiast, I mean, this is just, it does everything, and a screen printer, it just does everything I need it to do. But you were pointing out this
so
kind of
cool.
lighter bit. That I think that is on the
does it
front
just have
side.
an overlay?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's really just that pink layer on the back that kind of gives it that extra push of dimensionality.
It has nice gradients.
Oh yeah, it's
I've only ever seen people paint on this paper. I've never seen anybody print on it before.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if if his work is still, if he still uses it or not. I think this was from 2012. We actually acquired this in 2017 at a fundraiser for the Standing Rock protests. That was organized by Kirsten Flaherty in New York. So all the pieces that were in the show were donated, and it was like a blind auction. So,
Oh, wow.
you know, when we saw the Jeff Dell in there, we were like, you know, this is probably our only chance to grab one of these kind of thing. So it was, I mean, it was good to be able to, you know, to financially, you know, support that movement at the time, you know, and also just, you know, be able to snag like some work from one of our favorite artists. So
Yeah, that's like a win-win.
yeah, total win-win.
Yeah.
It is so nice. I
So
really
that
like
like
it.
subtle pink that's on the one side, is that the pink from the back side?
Are you talking about this bit?
Yeah.
I mean, I think so. I think he kind of printed this like a split fountain. So this would have been a white layer that was on top of the, or I mean, not on top of the pink, but that kind of matches the shape of the pink on the reverse side. And he would have, I think, just had a tiny little splooge of, you know, like off-white or that kind of bluish that he threw in there.
That's a
Lovely.
Yeah,
nice
I love this kind of
It's a good
magenta to
size, too.
pink. That's a, like real subtle transition there.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that is nice.
And I don't,
I also just like all the really harsh lines too. Like everything is just so like perfect.
yeah. I'm like a real fan of this kind of texture where it's like you can see the ink is you know, kind of,
It's like wrapped up in so much
yeah,
space.
and it's kind of like it feels like it's not fully embracing the substrate, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
That's a
one.
good
All right.
one. That seems like a frame. That's a framework.
Yeah, it is. It is. We're in constant negotiations about how to do it properly. So if anybody out there
All
has
right,
any
so-
suggestions on,
How to frame it properly. So this is our first print. So this is by a U.S. artist, Carmen Neely, and she stayed with us. I don't really remember exactly what year, but it was quite a while ago. She's mostly, I would say, predominantly a painter. I always feel nervous that I'm gonna like say someone's like more a painter than something else, and then they're gonna send me a message being like, "No, I'm a sculptor." Because Carmen does a lot of different things. So she's really interested in gesture. The work that she was doing when she was with us conceptually has changed quite a bit to what she's doing now. But I would say like a lot of the mark making that she uses and the sort of space relationships are still very similar. But she was working more with like figure in mind when she was with us, and now she's looking more at like object. But This is kind of an example of something that I really love about having a print shop on site. So she wanted to experiment with print while she was here instead of just working in paint. And a lot of her practice is exploring materials. So how does one gesture that is working in like a drawing or a painting translate into a different medium? So she'll do, a lot of sort of textile-based sculptural pieces. And I know now she's been doing some sort of larger, I'm not entirely sure how she's making them. I'm assuming some kind of like chicken wire center with something that's put on the outside. I don't know. They look like they're probably
Like a paper
white.
mache kind of thing?
Kind of, but not paper mache. Like, I don't know, maybe like a plaster Paris bandage type thing. I'm not, Carmen, I'm sorry, I don't know. But like, they're like larger sculptures that are clearly not made of like stone or wood. And then like resin as well, I believe, is like another element, like product that she's been sort of playing around with. So I just like the idea of like taking like a mark that you make with your hand and then seeing like, what does this mark look like as a piece of textile? What does this mark look like as a painting? What does this mark look like as a print? So that's like pushing the exploration of that, like as many different ways as you possibly can. I just like love that. So this was like a reductive relief print.
Oh, it's relief.
It's relief, yeah. So I mean,
It's a thick relief.
we get a lot of the like APs. So you can see the registration up at the top there of the one block over the other.
Is that the ink is pretty glossy? It looks like it's reflecting a lot of light.
Yeah, this paper feels a little weird. It feels like it has like a plastic sizing in it, so like it's not really absorbing. It's more sort of sitting on the surface, which gives that sheen.
It's also possible that like the layers were put on really quickly, and there's some like.
Oh, it's highly possible. Usually people don't stay for long enough to let the ink fully dry between layers.
So it might not be drying like properly, and that's what's causing it to be so shiny. I think it's just the Vanson rubber-based ink that we have in the shop. I don't, unless Carmen brought ink, but I mean, it's been such a long time that I cannot say for certain. But it is pretty shiny. You're not wrong.
The front side of this paper feels a little bit plastic.
So are there multiple layers? Like, are there like kind of like tertiary colors appearing from like some of the layers overlapping, or is that?
Yeah. So what's happening in here is like the blue layer is layering over top of yellow. So there's sort of like a sub-blue section in here that's over top of the yellow that's making kind of this green color. That's probably the only, I would say, area that's working with like a color layering to create two tones, unless I'm missing something.
I was looking at that like darker blue. Yeah.
This one?
Yeah, it looks like there's yellow. There's like a light green. There's a like blue, and then there's like a deep turquoise blue, and then there's like a black that sits on top of everything.
Yeah. It's just like, I love things like this that you get in relief print, like this type of mark here. It's so nice. But yeah, I really like Carmen's work a lot, and I love when artists are just like pushing the process so far and pushing their own I guess like ideas and ways of drawing shapes. Like I mean, she and I are both abstract painters, and I feel like you do get kind of lost in your own mark making a lot of the time, and seeing, I guess kind of feeling like when you make a mark, can I make that same mark again? Like, how can I love the way this turned out. Will I ever be able to recreate it? So for me, I feel like that kind of idea resonates a lot.
Yeah, I love that language. It's such a fun piece. I'm a big supporter of black and yellow together.
Us too. It is a great combination.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's our first
All right.
share.
Is it my turn again?
It's
Okay.
your turn.
What do you got for us?
Well,
I'm excited.
I kind of had this.
Pretty baller.
I kind of had this realization when going through the flat file, that like the vast majority of work I have is made by men. You know, yeah. I mean, and especially with
That's a weird realization.
yeah, but you know, I mean, it's printmaking, and these are things that we're kind of aware of. But I think this moment in time is making me especially sensitive to it. So I kind of wanted to show work that is not made by dudes. So I have this print by, oh, I guess this is a better way, by Melanie Yazzie.
Yeah.
And we'll step back so we can see the whole thing. It's just a single color screen print.
Is it a scan of a
Yeah,
book?
it's a book depicting, I guess, settlers, like white settlers fighting off Native Americans. So Melanie is a Native American printmaker, and she's based in New Mexico.
Okay.
When I was at Ohio University, she came and did a visiting artist, talk, and I actually got to pull these prints with her. Well, I guess this was in 2014. But yeah, this was the image that we pulled. And it was just so striking because, the language in it is very like, like
text?
French girl heroine in defense of her village, and like, Iroquois, attacked the village downstream from Montreal. Oh, there's a Canadian reference. Yeah.
Oh, it's Canadian
Yeah.
connection.
And you can see the action depicted,
Is this like a
Yeah, it
kid's
probably
book?
came from a kid's book. Maybe like from like the 50s or 60s. Melanie, I
Yeah.
think, is a little bit older, so it probably came from, something that she encountered in her childhood, or, her work is a lot of it is abstract, but it all incorporates kind of like Native American like iconography, and I'm not super versed in that vernacular, but I definitely respond to things that are graphic and like what's up?
Is the ink?
Oh yeah, it's metallic
Or am I
ink, which is
crazy?
probably
Okay.
why it looks like very faint on the screen.
Ah,
That
I
makes
love
sense.
the like vignetting.
Yeah.
So you're really like funneled into the action of
Right.
what's happening.
Yeah, so this
Yeah, that's a nice. It's so big too. I just love big prints.
yeah, what is it? Probably 22 by 30 or something.
Yeah, it's a screen
Yeah, it's a
print as
screen
well,
print.
right? Hmm. It like looks like it would be so great as a stone litho.
Yeah, I mean, I think she works in a variety of mediums, and
She's in
Yeah.
New Mexico.
yeah, I think she might teach down there also.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah, this is a nice.
yeah,
print
but she
too. Oh,
this was printed when I was in grad school, and she came in and did a lecture, and then wanted to pull some prints in the print shop. So it was kind of like, it wasn't something that was like organized far in advance. She just kind of showed up with images and like, let's print. And so I kind of just jumped on the opportunity and was like, yeah, totally. But now that I'm looking at this print, it's like super crooked, and like I did not do my best job on it. But I was a student at the time, so.
But I do think that that's like such a fun part about being in a school and having like artists visiting. You do kind of get those opportunities to just like work alongside somebody who's not like part of the class.
Who's not necessarily a printmaker
Mhm.
either.
Yeah, like I think that that's such a great part of being in an institution.
Yeah, totally.
So it's fun that she didn't have anything necessarily organized, but was still like, let's just.
Well, that's
do
what I remember about
you know?
it, is that And before that, I had printed editions with other artists, and sometimes that can be kind of a stressful situation, and you're battling many things. But she was fairly. I remember she was just super gracious, and I kind of just printed the first one or two, and I'm like, okay, let's what do you think? And I thought we were gonna pour over it, and she was just kind of like, oh no, it's great, let's go, let's just print, but
That's
I
awesome.
but this was, I remember too that the screen I used was a 230, and so I'm trying to push metallic ink through this 230 screen, which didn't really do any justice for the text. You can see it's super faint. So those are the lessons you learn.
They are the lessons you learn. Text, and then also large flat areas with metallic ink. I mean, it does take a specific type of screen to make that work.
Yeah,
properly.
totally. So I pulled this. This was something I had in my flat file, since I was in grad school, and it's kind of just resided there, without really me kind of pulling it out and taking a look at it. But as soon as I looked at it, I'm going to sneak another print in here. It reminded me of this print that was made by a Chicago printmaker named Brian Duggan. And this is one of my favorite prints that he's made.
Yeah, this is also really nice print.
Yeah.
Screen print?
Also
Yeah,
screen
screen print, which is
Yeah.
basically depicting the opposite of what we see in Melanie's print.
Yeah.
Duggan's work is full of humor, if anybody's familiar with it. And as soon as I saw
I
it,
like this drawing
what's that?
style. I like the drawing
Yeah,
style.
totally. I like this guy kind of facing camera.
Yeah. Dead eyes set on whoever's taking
Right.
the picture.
But I definitely saw this and felt like it was appropriate for current events.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Totally. Yeah, that one is also a really nice print. Oh, screen print's so great.
Yeah, you can just do stuff. All right.
Yeah. Okay, want to do this one next? Hold on. So we have a print that made us think of you. I guess it also comes with a little bit of a story.
Ooh.
Do you want to tell the story, Kyle, or do you want me to tell the story?
You can tell the story. You're a great storyteller.
Well, I mean, we'll see. But so when Kyle and I went to the UK many years ago on one of our only non-work trips.
It wasn't even for us. It was for your friend's wedding.
Yeah, technically. And when we were in London, we wanted to check out the East London Printmakers studio, but they didn't really have open hours. And we were like, well, whatever, we'll just go and hope for the best. Maybe somebody will let us in. So we got there and it wasn't open, and there was a big gate in front of it, like a chain link fence kind of situation. And so we just stood outside being like, okay, well, what are we going to do now? And some guy came up to us and he was like, what are you guys doing? Are you lost? Do you need help? And
I think he just came straight out and he's like, are you guys looking for the East London printmaker?
no, he totally just asked if we were lost. And then he was holding a portfolio case, and so we were like, oh, this guy's definitely a printmaker. And so we told him that we were looking for the print studio, and he was like, oh yeah, I'm a printmaker there, so come on in, I'll take you on a tour. Anyways, he took us on a full tour of the studio. He ended up, we went to his studio and hung out with him for a bit, and he gave us all of these prints. His name was Nick Scott.
Yeah, so I guess the East London Printmakers, it's a community open studio, predominantly think screen print, but they have etching facilities, and I can't remember. I don't think they have litho. Maybe.
Can't remember.
I feel like they did, but I think screen printing was the
Mhm.
big one. And I guess as many shops do, they print out a lot of posters for local businesses and such. And so this happened to be one of them in the pile, which made me think immediately of you. Because when we were introduced to your work, this is very much so in vein with the work that you were doing in your master's program.
Well, for the posters for the school.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I think we were introduced to a giant stack of speakers.
Yes, we were.
But yeah, it's just we don't know who really printed this. We don't know any of the context of it, but like just that food-based layering, like really sort of odd 1950s aesthetic color palette. Like, look at this pickle.
Oh, I love it.
It's just so great. Yeah.
And arrows too.
I know. Just in case, I mean, everything is backwards, but this is like hot salt beef, rye bread, mustard, in case you didn't know, and then another piece of rye bread. So, you know, the deli keeps it simple, but it was just like, we thought of you, and also just, again, kind of like that printmaker mentality. We were just two lost people standing on the street, and this guy was like, spent, you know, a pretty big part of his afternoon just like touring us around, hanging out with us, showing us prints, being excited that, you know, we knew anything about it and that we wanted to like have a chat about printmaking for the afternoon. Yeah, it was just like,
I love
so
this
fun.
story because the same exact thing happened to me.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
so our friend Josh and I, we went to East London Printmakers, you know, when we were in London the last time, and same thing. We're at the gate trying to figure out, like, is this it? Like, how do you get in?
So you too know the undescript factory building that is
Yeah,
behind
yeah.
the Katie Fest.
And literally, a dude named Nick rolled up and was like, "Hey, are you looking for East London Printmakers?" And we're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Come on, I'll let you in."
Maybe Nick is just like a welcoming committee of East London
Yeah,
Printmakers.
he goes by
I feel like
he goes
you
by
have, like,
Narksville
mini-
online, right? Is it the same
I
Nick?
think
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
yeah. It might be
yeah,
the same.
yeah.
That's amazing.
And
So happy.
like we didn't get to go to his studio, but I'm like a huge fan of his work. And actually, oh, is this the drawer? I have some East London Prints studio posters in here. Yeah, that I thought about pulling out, but it didn't kind of really go with the theme. But now we're talking about it. Sorry, I'm digging through my drawer right now, so I probably look weird, but
We have another one from like the works that he gave us. It does have some.
let's see.
Another really nice print.
Okay, so I'm just gonna show this one really quick, just so I can do a shout out to Helen Ashton. Oh, that's another Narksville?
That's an.
Yeah, this one was, I think, done at the shop, but it's not his. It is
It's Anna.
Anna Pecker.
Oh, okay.
Speaker.
Peaker?
Is it what's
Some of
the
our scores.
what's the band?
Milk banana.
Sorry about that. Somebody just tried to call me.
Oh, melt banana.
Oh,
I
Melt
think.
Banana? Yeah, they're
Yeah.
from Japan, right?
I think so. I mean,
That would
this
make
was
sense.
Japanese to me. But also just a really nice print. I think that also scale is really good.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the poster size. I wish
Mhm.
that
Oh, yeah.
our shop could-
You know, the cool thing about when I was in London is that they had all these, I mean, it might be the same for y'all in Canada, but they had all these sizes that we don't use in the States, like A4 and I was ahead.
Yeah. No, we use similar sizes to
Oh,
you
really?
guys.
Yeah, and I had to measure
Yeah.
things in centimeters and
I mean, we did that. centimeters.
Not really.
But technically in school.
so when I stopped by, I got a whole mess of
Oh.
studio signs, which I mean I feel like
Yes.
for shop signs, like these are like graphically on point. Yeah, so I think
That
I
is
know
great.
the printer was Helen Ashton, who goes by Pat Lunch. I'm not sure though if she designed it also. She might have. But Helen, we met when we were there, and she was in Power Washer, the first issue of Power Washer, and she was also featured in the Power Washer exhibition in Cleveland last year. Yeah,
Nice.
so
That print is awesome.
Yeah.
The subtle gradients to make that ribbon wrap. Like, I am a sucker for, like, just...
Look at that.
It is just, like, this is, like, screen printer porn.
Yeah, like that dither right there. It's so nice.
Yeah, it is so good. And it's such a simple print. It's, like, only 3 colors, right? Like, but it feels so much bigger than just the pad.
Yeah, that is a nice studio.
No, I definitely want to say that I think she gave me a strike off because you can see the red just slightly out, which I was totally cool with. But you know, if there's any like hardcore print geeks out there, I don't want you to think that.
We don't see this. We see that misregistration right there. That little white line by the sides of the letters. It's like not the thing that I get myself hung up on.
No, I don't either.
All right,
you know.
Technically, it's your turn.
Is it my turn again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, we cheated because we popped some.
Oh yeah, I guess
got down
that's
in
true. Yeah. Okay.
East London printmaker
Okay.
rant.
So I want to show you a print that. So at my studio, I also print editions for other artists, and this is a print by my good friend Diana Ho, and she's a Chinese American, and we produced this edition for a show that she did. Whoops, that she did in San Francisco, I think like 2 years ago. That featured, you know, artworks by people in the Chinese American community.
I really like this one.
Yeah, like I really like that halftone.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's so good.
Yeah, and then we got some metallic ink there too.
Yeah, and also just like, is that an egg being held as like learning how to maybe do the script properly?
I think so. I'll be honest and say that I'm pretty ignorant about about the content of this work. But yeah, I think.
Cool.
I really like that.
Yeah, and of course, like.
The bright fingernails, so good too.
Right? Yeah. And if you know Diana, she's definitely like got some style. So it very much feels like her with that red nail. But also, I thought you would appreciate this teal.
Yes. I love teal in everything. And it also is like, when we like were designing the Sparkbox logo, I was like, guys, I want it to feel like Miami Vice. That's like my only request, is that it feels like Florida in the 80s. That's important to me. These colors need to be Florida in the 80s.
Which is so much like rural Canada.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
Almost
Same thing.
exactly the same color palette.
So I just wanted.
Is that like a? Oh my God! Why is print words not coming out of my mouth? Kyle.
The chop.
Chop.
Chop. Thank you.
It's a fake chop. It's part of it. It's
chop.
part of the red layer.
Oh, okay. It's a big
But
cheater.
no, but I wanted to say
that is nice.
So Diana, like we've collaborated on a number of projects over the years, and she runs a store in Brooklyn called From Here to Sunday, and the store's mission is all to support, you know, like marginalized artists and craft makers. So everything that she stocks in the store, you know, is made by, you know, people of color and people that aren't really represented in the art world as much. So I think I'll have to throw a link into her. Yeah.
Yes, please do.
That's super cool.
That would be great. So when you do collaborations like this, is the artist, so like, is she sending you just the digital files and then you're printing them, or are you talking about the work before the printing? Like, how exactly does like this kind of artist collaboration?
I mean, it's definitely like on a case-by-case basis. In this case, you know, she sent me the drawing, and she had color separated it. But we worked together, you know, as far as like the color choices. I don't think that she initially had thought about the metallic ink for the calligraphy pen, but we, you know, came up with that together. And then I think also, I don't know if we had a halftone. I feel like I can't remember exactly, but I think we kind of had a back and forth about, getting that dot pattern, to look right.
Well, and it's nice because it punches everything else.
Yeah,
forward.
yeah. And I just love how it
Sure.
kind of gives some dimension to the hand and the egg. But yeah, but I mean, in this case, like, Diana knew what she wanted to do, and I just kind of like, used my knowledge of screen printing to kind of figure out like how to best execute it. As far as like also like figuring out the right paper and everything.
Yeah.
So.
What kind of paper is it on? Is it really light? It looks very light.
I can't remember. It's probably.
But it's pretty thin. Like,
yeah, I think we ordered it from Talus in New York. It's probably like mulberry paper. Yeah, it's definitely light. But the trick was I probably had to call them and ask for something that would absorb like the moisture in the water-based ink without, getting too wobbly. Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I really like that print. That might be my favorite of the
Oh,
bunch.
nice.
Maybe it's the teal. I don't know. Okay, so our last share is not a print. Are we gonna hold it up? Here, I'll try it
and then
out.
I'll put it back.
Oops, we're caught on the thing. So, this is also, I don't think it's the Yupo paper, but it is like a vellum, hand-cut piece by Linh Thai. She's in Ontario. Oh, I'm showing the backside of it, sorry. Is it translating? I hope so. You can see that this is the chicken, right?
Oh, that's what you have the black
So
behind? Okay.
Maybe back it up a little bit.
yeah. So when Lynn was here, she was working on like a puppetry piece. So she had like a whole bunch of these hand-cut puppets. So you can see they all have like movement to them. There's like a little, I don't know what these are called, but little metal, you'd use them in school. They kind of like flip over in the back so that you can have motion in paper goods. So they're all hand cut, and it was a story that her mother, like kind of like a nursery rhyme sort of fairy tale, but it's a Vietnamese fairy tale or story. I don't know, how would you, like a poem, sort of like The Old Woman That Lives in a Shoe. What would you call that? Like a nursery rhyme?
Yeah.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. So like that, like that kind of tale. And so she had these, let's put it back up because I'm scared I'm gonna like, he's very fragile. Maybe he might have to sit like that. So she had this like amazing construction with a projector. So she had like an overhead, like old school projector that she had built these like platforms of plexiglass up. So you have the base of the projector, then these like little...
She'd used like threaded rod and cut threaded rod and put bolts on it so it would sit on top, and like you'd have a projector and then the threaded rods would carry up and it would be like one layer of plexi, another layer of plexi, another layer of plexi, another layer of plexi. So just like you would do in like traditional animation cell studios. And like at the very top, she had like a camera mounted dead straight onto it, and so she was like,
well, it was facing the wall for the projection.
So like she was like using it as like I don't know what they call that in animation class, like, but she was using
like
it
stop motion, basically.
Stop motion work, which was really neat.
But when it would project onto the wall, the work that was closest to the light would be like the strongest sort of shadow, and then anything that was distanced away would be sort of blurred out. So you would get this like aperture effect. So the main character, which is an older woman. Oh my gosh, Lynn, if you're watching, I'm really sorry if I get this story wrong, but because it's a very odd nursery rhyme. So she's like an older woman who is like selling at a market, I think some kind of fruit, and at one point she cuts her own leg off She makes some food over a fire. And I can't remember exactly what ends up happening at the end because it's just like a really wild nursery rhyme. And so she would make these market scenes by basically like the woman would be the closest to the light, but then people would be passing by and there'd be other vendors on the like top layers of this like little animation stand that she had made so that there could be this beautiful, oh, I did it! Look at it! I got it!
Yeah.
I don't know why. What happens at the end? I can't remember. And so I've never seen puppetry and animation work in this way before. Like, we have friends who do shadow puppetry. I've been to shadow puppet plays.
Yeah.
But
it's like just a projector, and you work just on top of the projector, and so like things are crisp, or you physically pull them away from the projector to get that kind of softer vignetting.
So are most of the layers then like still? Because to move the puppet, right, you would have to move each of those layers of plexi, right?
Yeah, I think it's like you move everything like on each of the layers a very small amount, and then hit click, and then move everything a little tiny amount, and then click. So like in that traditional stop motion, laborious method of like you change everything just a fraction of like an inch, and then you sit there all day and you move it 2-3 inches.
Yeah, I think if you go to her website, there's like the animation is there, and the nursery rhyme is said over top, so you can hear the nursery rhyme, and there's a translation for it. It's not as like it obviously rhymes in its traditional form, but it doesn't like rhyme, so it doesn't have the same sort of like like that poetry sound in English. It doesn't translate in that way, but you can read everything that's going on. But yeah, it's like all the little movements would have done like a traditional animation. So little, you would move the chicken's head with this little kind of grommet and then take the photo. So it was just like the most time consuming. I mean, artists
we're patient people,
We are quite patient. Like, because all of this is hand cut and then figured out, and then these tiny movements, and then also just like putting the whole thing together afterwards. I don't know, but it was just gorgeous, and I love them, and I feel so lucky to have like such a lovely. I mean, we don't get a lot of pieces from people that aren't doing print, so to have something like this that's given so much care and love, I feel very lucky. But I don't know how to show it because like I don't want it to like lose, the fact that it's transparent,
right.
the fact that it has movement. How do you look at it? It's just so great. You just want to play
it's
with
like you can't
a
really frame it. I mean, you could. You just kind of float it.
You could,
but it kind of loses things. I feel like that's like kind of what happens with like bookworks that we collect. Like this bookwork is like really beautiful, but like I can't just put it behind a plexiglass box on a plinth in my house.
Yeah.
And like you don't get to interact with it at all in that regard.
No, it's a gorgeous piece. We should link to the video. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't know how I can. I mean, unless Lynn has it, I'll check to see if it's on her Instagram feed because I don't know how to share a video from if I don't have the video.
Can you link out to the video?
I mean, Instagram's not super great
it doesn't.
Into things. We don't have enough. I think you need to have like 10,000 followers so that you can do a swipe up to something else, and we're not really there
we'll
yet.
Get there.
One step at a time.
But we'll figure it out, one step at a time. But yeah, that's our last share. I just love puppetry and paper cut and innovative ways of working with an idea. I feel like that's my theme of today.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Share.
Do we have time for one more?
Yeah.
We do.
Instagram will cut us off just before 1 o'clock.
Okay.
So like we have time for another one. What do you got for us?
Well, I gotta do a shout out to my studio mates here. So I'm gonna promote your book if that's okay. So if you're not familiar, so Sonnenzimmer, which is Nick
Which are these guys?
and Nadine, they're working hard today. They are longtime Chicago artists and printmakers and graphic designers. And over the years, they've really done an amazing job like blurring the line between all of those distinctions. So creating graphic design that has abstraction and creating paintings and prints that have graphic elements. But they just recently put together an anthology. It's like 1,000+ pages, right? Yeah. So chronicling basically like all their work over the years.
Oh my gosh.
It's ridiculous. So, you know, everything, you know, a lot of it, you know, from like gig posters to, you know, product packaging, like client work. It's amazing.
Wow, this would be such a satisfying thing to do for yourself and also for the public. But like to see your work and like look how many pages that is.
It's ridiculous.
That's so satisfying.
Our friend Ronnie Hunger, you know, who's like a longtime collaborator of theirs, he flew in from Switzerland and basically created an algorithm to organize the structure of the book. So I don't know.
Sorry,
so
what?
he basically wrote like a computer algorithm in order to, you know, so instead of like placing each of these images like you would in a page in like InDesign or whatever, like he created like software to do it automatically just because there were so many images. You know, but all of these pieces like exist in the archive in our studio space here, and so they all had to be individually photographed and everything. So like the undertaking to produce this book was like incredible.
That's
yeah,
crazy.
and they've been working on it for like the last couple months, and
It's beautiful.
yeah. So yeah, and it's screen printed on the edge here. You can see.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what the orange is from? Nice.
And I just love the kind of purple
Yes.
orange interaction there.
Oh my gosh, that's so
Yeah, and there's also a
satisfying.
slipcase, which I don't think is here. Nadine, you don't have a copy of the slipcase here, right? No. But they have there's a slipcase that this goes inside, and the slipcase is screen printed on the outside, and there's a painting on the inside of the slipcase. So it's also like this
cool.
incredible like hand-printed dimensional object. Yeah.
Wow.
So I think
How many did
like
they
250.
Okay. That's a
Yeah, and I think that
Yeah.
the first edition now is sold out, but they'll probably be producing a second edition. But they funded this through a Kickstarter and yeah.
That is awesome. That is it's just so thick and lovely. I also just find it very interesting that a computer algorithm did the layout formatting.
Yeah.
Did a great job.
And there's also, you know, a lot of writing in there, and some like critical analysis and, you know, I guess contributions from other artists and an index, and so it's really an amazing piece. Yeah.
Yeah, that is lovely. I really like that. It's just so satisfying. The like weight of it just feels so satisfying, and I'm not even holding it myself.
Yeah, it's like a phone book. It's a phone book of art.
Yeah.
If you don't have a phone book of art already, then we need to start working.
When they print the second edition,
Yeah.
you can get one too. Oh my gosh, that's so great. Thanks so much, Todd. It was
Oh, man,
super
thanks for
nice
having me.
chatting with you and seeing in your studio space because we've never seen it before. And yeah, it's always just nice sharing work and talking.
Yeah,
about art.
I had this thought. I was like, oh man, I should just like print some baked beans or something when you guys call, like just not show any prints, but just do something silly. And then I was like, oh, I don't know. I didn't.
We would have ran with
I chickened
whatever
out.
we ended up doing.
But now that I know that you're expanding the show and tell, you know.
Yeah, we can have you back.
Yeah, I'll just invite myself back
to 3 food prints. Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
That sounds good to me.
It's great chatting.
Yeah, it's great to see you guys.
Have a good weekend. Hopefully it's sunny like it is here. You can enjoy the sunshine.
Yeah.
Or just enjoy the shop, whatever you want.
A little
to
of both. Try to balance the weekend.
That sounds great. Well,
all right,
it
man.
was so nice seeing you.
Have a
Thank
great
you so
Yeah,
much.
good to see you guys as well.